Hello everyone, welcome back to Gossip Star Vibe. What unfolded on the last day of filming left fans in utter shock. Reports are flooding in that the Love and Hip Hop set was completely wrecked, following the most intense altercation in the show's history. It began with a heated exchange between Mendeces and Kirk Frost that quickly escalated beyond control. Yandy Smith attempted to intervene, but Rashida wasn't having it. She fired back with accusations that blindsided everyone, and that's when the conflict turned physical. Young Jock was spotted trying to defuse the tension, but even he couldn't stop the chaos that was erupting. Furniture was overturned, cameras were damaged, and the production team was forced to shut down everything on the spot. Sources report that Mona Scott was present, yelling at the cast to stop the madness, but it was already far too late. What should have been a celebratory wrap-up turned into complete mayhem, broken gear, hurt pride, and rumors of legal battles now swirling. Fans are now demanding answers. What caused this explosion? What secrets surfaced that pushed the cast over the edge? And why has the network remained silent? One thing's certain, this isn't the conclusion. It's just the beginning of Love and Hip Hop's most jaw-dropping controversy yet. It all started innocently enough. The final shoot day for Love and Hip Hop. Atlanta was intended as a celebration. The cast had wrapped another dramatic season, and everyone was looking forward to relaxing. But no one anticipated the storm that was coming. It began with a casual chat between Mendeces and Kirk Frost, two men whose feud had been growing for months. Their tension had been building, and the production expected to resolve it on camera for a dramatic climax. What no one foresaw was how fierce the clash would get. The disagreement erupted quickly. It stemmed from a comment Mendeces made about Kirk's parenting. Kirk, never one to hold back, retaliated with a jab at Mendeces' past, suggesting he had no right to criticize. That was the tipping point. Already under pressure from the season, Mendeces lost his cool. His face flushed with rage as he lunged at Kirk, shoving him hard. Cameras captured it all. But what happened next was even more shocking. Yandy Smith, Mendeces' wife, who had been trying to keep the peace for weeks, rushed in to stop him. Her attempts were in vain. She screamed, "This isn't the time, babe. Stop it." But Mendeces wasn't listening. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Rashida, known for her calming presence, tried to mediate, but only made it worse. She shouted to Kirk, "Don't let him do this. Show some restraint." But an enraged Kirk snapped back, "Don't tell me what to do." What followed was an explosion of screaming and finger-pointing. Mendeces and Kirk were face-to-face, yelling while Yandy and Rashida struggled to pull them apart. It was clear this was no longer a minor spat. It was deeply personal. Emotions ran wild and nobody knew how to calm the scene. The crew looked stunned, unable to control the boiling conflict. Then came a loud crash. Kirk, in a furious rage, flipped a nearby table to the ground. But it didn't end there. Mendeces, visibly fuming, knocked over a set piece, sending a mirror flying across the stage. The entire set resembled a disaster zone. Onlookers were left speechless. Love and Hip Hop had never seen anything like this. The drama had always been over the top, but this was on another level. Young Jock, who had stayed under the radar all season, finally stepped in. He approached Mendeces and Kirk, placing a hand on each of their shoulders, hoping to de-escalate things, but it had already gone too far. So far, Mendeces shoved him aside, telling him to back off. "This is between me and Kirk," he yelled. The staff was at a loss, and the directors rushed to find a way to end the chaos. It was obvious this wasn't about the show anymore. It was raw, emotional, and deeply personal. Amidst the disorder, Mona Scott, the brains behind the whole series, was said to be present. Witnesses stated she was seen rushing around, shouting at the crew and cast to pull it together. "This wasn't part of the plan. Get it under control," she reportedly yelled. But the harm had already been done. The stage was wrecked. The team divided, and what should have been a conclusion turned into total collapse. As the argument peaked, security arrived, but even they couldn't get things under control. Mendeces was apparently removed from the set, still fuming and shouting, while Kirk Frost remained in the center of the mess, looking just as furious. Yandy, clearly shaken, stood off to the side, trying to grasp what had just happened. Rashida, however, stormed off, muttering to herself about how this should have been a celebration, not a disaster. The aftermath was equally intense. As word of the brawl spread, viewers flooded social media with reactions. "Did y'all see that fight on Love and Hip Hop?" One tweeted, "This is another level. said another. A third added, I thought it was all staged. This was real. Talks began circulating that the incident might be the final tipping point for some cast members. Insiders said a few were seriously considering quitting the show altogether. I'm over this toxic mess, one reportedly confessed privately. Meanwhile, the network rushed to handle the consequences. Some reports said they attempted to downplay the extent of the chaos, but the truth was already leaking. Fans started posting behind-the-scenes clips online showing the wreckage. The reunion special, meant to air soon after the season finale, was delayed. Producers, desperate to salvage the rest of the season, started weighing their options. Should they confront the fight directly or bury it? For the cast, things were far from resolved. Mendices, Yandy, Kirk, Rashida, and others were left trying to repair their fractured relationships, both on and off screen. Some sources mentioned that the tension between Mendices and Kirk had grown so deep, they might not be able to shoot scenes together again. Others hinted Yandy was thinking about leaving to protect her family's image. It's not worth it anymore, she was overheard saying. The cast weren't the only ones affected. Fans were also split. Some still devoted to the show, saying the drama was what made it exciting. Others, however, were outraged, demanding the network cancel Love and Hip Hop altogether. This isn't TV anymore, one viewer commented. It's exploitation. As filming wrapped up, everyone was left wondering, what comes next? Could this explosive incident mark the end of Love and Hip Hop, or was it only pushing the series into even darker waters? One thing was obvious, the drama was far from done. When the cameras shut off and the set fell silent, the cast, crew, and fans were all bracing for whatever shock would come next. As production resumed, tension still simmered among the stars. The team, long used to wild blow-ups on Love and Hip Hop, could tell this one was different. A small disagreement had quickly escalated into the biggest feud in the show's timeline. This wasn't just on-camera antics, it was personal. Kirk Frost, at the heart of the storm from the beginning, stood firm. After the fiery exchange with Mendices, he made it known he wasn't stepping back. I'm not scared of anybody, and definitely not of Mendices. He was overheard saying, his voice edged with fury. His pride was obvious, and it only made things worse. Those close to him said Kirk had been growing more unpredictable in recent months. He wasn't just furious, he was acting out, desperate to maintain control as things around him unraveled. Rashida, his wife, found herself stuck in the middle. She had long been the soothing force in their relationship, but this time felt different. The conflict between Kirk and Mendices was starting to crack her family apart. She had seen it all firsthand and was struggling to balance supporting her husband while guarding her family's image. I don't know how to fix it anymore, she confided to a friend, voice shaking with emotion. I never wanted it to get this far, but every day it feels like things are crumbling. The strain on Rashida and Kirk's relationship was becoming more obvious. The bond they once shared was starting to unravel. Behind the scenes, Rashida had begun to wonder if staying in the marriage was the right choice. She had always been the logical one, but even she knew some problems were too big to resolve. Amid the mess on set, she felt more alone than ever. Mendices, meanwhile, wasn't in the mood to forgive or move on. I'm done with this show and everything tied to it, he reportedly said. A crew member was told during a break, I came here to share my family's story, but all we've gotten is chaos. This isn't authentic, and I can't keep being part of it. His anger spilled over, and it wasn't just aimed at Kirk, it was at the entire operation that let things spiral so far. Yandandi, his wife, was caught in the middle. She had always stood by Mendices through everything, but the weight of the situation was becoming too much. This isn't what we agreed to, Yandi told a close friend. Mendices is finished. He wants to walk away from all of this, and honestly, I don't blame him. This is no place for our children. Still, Yandi couldn't overlook her professional reality. She had created a legacy with Love and Hip Hop, and stepping away wasn't an easy decision. The very platform that let her share her journey was now threatening to destroy her family. She faced a difficult decision: support her husband and leave everything. It widespread, and not even the producers could predict the next steps. She'd built her stay on the show and risk her relationship. I don't know how it came to this, Yandandi said tearfully. I thought we were creating something meaningful, and now I don't even know if we'll make it out of this. As the disputes intensified, The production team rushed to control the damage. It was obvious that things were falling apart and the polished image of love and hip-hop was crumbling. "We have to contain this," one producer was overheard saying. "We can't let this destroy the cast right before the finale. They need to look like a family, not enemies." Despite attempts to repair the situation, the divide among the cast only widened. Young Jock, usually known for his humor and upbeat nature, was clearly disturbed by the growing hostility on set. "This isn't what I agreed to," he said, frustrated. "We were supposed to be a unit, a family. Now it feels like it's every person for themselves. I just want to finish this without all the chaos." Jock, once the show's mediator, began withdrawing, choosing silence over the constant arguing that had taken over. But it wasn't just the cast feeling the strain. Viewers who once supported the emotional roller coasters of their favorite personalities were now voicing their disbelief and disappointment. Social media was flooded with reactions, many calling for the show's cancellation. "This is outrageous," one viewer posted. "I can't believe the level of conflict they're showing. This isn't what we signed up for." Others echoed that sentiment, criticizing how far the show had drifted from its original goal. "They've completely lost their direction," another said. "This isn't reality anymore. It's people acting like someone they're not." In a final attempt to save the show, producers brought in a neutral party to mediate between the cast. The mediator aimed to hold a group session, giving everyone space to express their thoughts and ideally resolve their issues. But from the start, it was evident the damage was too severe for a quick fix. "I've had it," Kirk snapped, cutting off the mediator. "We're not here to fix anything. We're here to speak our truth." His defiance only worsened the already heated atmosphere. As more cast members voiced their concerns, emotions ran high. "I don't care about this show anymore," one said. "It's just a paycheck now. We're all being manipulated, and I've had enough." The once close cast, united by shared struggles, now opened up about how the show had taken a toll on their lives. "This was supposed to be our breakthrough," another admitted. "All we've gotten is drama, and we're all suffering because of it." By then, the producers recognized they had a real problem. A show that had once been a cultural staple was now on the verge of falling apart. The divisions within the cast ran deep, and it became clear that some might not come back for another season. "We can't keep going like this," a producer admitted. "Something has to change, quickly, or this show is finished." With the finale just around the corner, the cast was faced with the harsh truth that their futures were uncertain. Could they overcome their differences and carry on with the love and hip-hop saga? Or was this the end of an era? The future of the show and the relationships that had been so integral to its success hung in the balance. As the days dragged on, the emotional strain on the cast became undeniable. What had started as a dramatic on-set dispute had grown into a full-scale personal crisis, impacting everyone involved. The consequences of the explosive conflicts, Kirk Frost, always a lightning rod for controversy, found himself at the center of the turmoil. His earlier words, filled with defiance and anger, had struck a chord with many. "I'm not backing down from anyone, especially not Menzies," he had said repeatedly, as tensions between the two men reached new heights. However, as the days passed, it became clear that Kirk's bravado was beginning to crack. Deep down, he knew he had crossed the line, and the fallout was far from over. Behind the scenes, Rashida was struggling to hold everything together. She had always been the one to keep the peace, but even she couldn't deny the strain this conflict was putting on her family. "I don't know how much more I can take," Rashida confided to a close friend, pacing back and forth in her dressing room. "Kirk is pushing everyone away, and I can't keep pretending everything is fine." Her voice trembled, revealing the vulnerability hidden beneath her normally composed exterior. As Rashida dealt with the consequences of her marriage, Menth and Yandi were having their own reckoning. The couple had always been fan favorites, with their love story being one of the most heartfelt arcs on the show. But now, tensions had reached a boiling point. Menzies, usually calm and collected, was visibly agitated. His frustration had been building for months, and it seemed that the time had finally come for him to speak out. "I didn't sign up for this," Menzies vented to Yandandi one night after a particularly tense day of filming. "I came here to share our journey with the world, not to get caught in this endless cycle of drama, lies, and manipulations. It's too much." Yandandi, always the supportive partner, tried to reassure him. "We've been through worse, babe. she said softly. "We'll get through this like we always do." But even Yandandi, who had supported Menzies through his toughest times, was beginning to question their future on the show. "I can't keep pretending everything is fine," she admitted to a close friend. "Menzies is done with this, and I don't blame him. This isn't the life we envisioned for our family." The cameras had captured countless moments of raw emotion over the years, but nothing could prepare viewers for what was to come next. With each passing day, the conflict deepened, and no one, not even the producers, could contain the drama. What was meant to be a simple reality show had turned into a high-stakes game, with reputations, relationships, and futures on the line. As the drama continued to unfold, the rest of the cast watched in disbelief. Young Jock, known for his easygoing nature and humor, was stunned by the animosity that had overtaken the set. "I never thought it would come to this," he said, his voice filled with disbelief. "We're all supposed to be a family, but it feels like everyone's turning on each other." Jock had always been the glue that held the group together, but even he knew that the situation had gone too far. The producers, who had prided themselves on creating the drama fans craved, were now struggling to regain control. "We can't keep pushing these people to their breaking point," one producer said to colleagues. "We need to figure out how to mend these rifts, or this show is going to collapse." The producers were facing a dilemma. The drama was what had made Love and Hip Hop so popular, but the personal toll on the cast was undeniable. The big question now was whether the show could continue, or if it was too late to repair the damage done. Despite attempts to mediate, the situation continued to deteriorate. The cast members, once united by shared experiences, were now divided by deep-seated animosity that no one seemed able to shake. "This isn't fun anymore," one cast member confessed to a crew member during a break. "We're just going through the motions, but no one really cares about each other anymore." The once close-knit group had been shattered, and the cracks were widening with each passing day. As tensions mounted, Kirk's behavior became more erratic. His defiance toward Menzies had only fueled the flames of the conflict, and it was beginning to show in his actions. "I'm not going to let anyone tell me what to do," Kirk shouted, his face flushed with anger. "I'm not backing down from anyone, not even Menzies." His words echoed through the set, sending waves of unease among the cast and crew. It was clear that Kirk wasn't just angry, he was unraveling, and no one knew how to stop it. Meanwhile, Rashida faced an impossible decision. Should she continue to stand by her husband, or was it time to walk away? The decision weighed heavily on her, and she had no clear answers. "I don't know what's going to happen next," she said quietly, "but I can't keep living like this. I need peace." Her emotional turmoil was evident, and it seemed no one could offer her the reassurance she desperately needed. Yandandi, too, was at a crossroads. She had always been the steadying influence in Menzies' life, but even she was beginning to question how much longer they could continue down this path. "I don't know what's worse," she said to herself while sitting alone in her dressing room. "The drama of the show, or the impact it's having on our family." The weight of the decision ahead of her was overwhelming, and it was clear that whatever choice she made would have a lasting impact on her marriage, career, and future. The cast members weren't the only ones feeling the strain. The fans, who had supported the show for years, were beginning to voice their concerns. Social media was flooded with comments from viewers who were stunned by the intensifying drama. "This is too much," one fan tweeted. "They're destroying each other for money, and it's painful to watch." Others were quick to share their disappointment in how the show had evolved over time. "This isn't the Love and Hip Hop I used to watch," another fan posted. "It's just a mess now." With the finale approaching, the producers scrambled to figure out how to salvage the situation. Would they be able to repair the fractured relationships between the cast, members, or was this the end for Love and Hip Hop? The uncertainty hung in the air, and no one knew what the future held for the show or its stars. As the cast prepared for the final filming day, the tension was palpable. It was unclear whether the group would be able to come together for one last time to finish the finale, or if the rifts in their relationships would be too deep to repair. The fate of the show and the future of the cast remained uncertain. Would they reconcile, or was this the end of Love and Hip Hop as everyone knew it? As the final day of filming drew closer, the tension on set reached its peak. The once close-knit group of Love and Hip Hop cast members was now a divided family, each member dealing with their own emotions and conflicting loyalties. The fallout from the explosive arguments had affected everyone, and it was becoming clear that the drama that unfolded on set would leave lasting marks beyond the cameras. Kirk Frost, who had been at the center of much of the chaos, seemed to be on the verge of a meltdown. His usually calm demeanor had been replaced by an air of instability. With every passing hour, his outbursts grew more frequent, his temper shorter, and his defiance toward the producers and cast members more intense. "This whole situation is a joke," Kirk muttered during one of his many heated conversations with crew members. "They want to paint me as the villain, but I'm just speaking the truth." His words, though confident, were filled with frustration and fear. It was clear to those around him that Kirk was struggling, and his internal battle had reached its breaking point. Despite his outward bravado, the cracks in his exterior were growing, and it was unclear how much longer he could keep it together before completely breaking down. He had always been one of the show's most unpredictable figures, but now it seemed that his emotions were spiraling out of control. Rashida, on the other hand, had reached her own breaking point. The emotional strain of the ongoing drama had taken a toll on her, and the final day of filming loomed like a dark cloud. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," she confessed to Yandi one evening, her voice barely audible. "It's tearing me apart to watch Kirk act like this. I thought we were stronger than this." Yandi, ever the listener, nodded in understanding. "I get it, Rashida, but you've always been the strong one. You've got this." Yet even Yandi wasn't sure how much longer Rashida could hold everything together. The weight of being caught between her husband's collapse and the drama of the show was taking a toll. It was clear that she was torn between her loyalty to Kirk and her own well-being. Meanwhile, Mency, who had remained relatively quiet during the height of the drama, found himself caught in an emotional whirlwind. His frustration with the situation had been building beneath the surface, but as the final day of shooting drew near, it was becoming harder to contain. "I can't keep pretending like everything's fine," he told Yandi in a rare moment of vulnerability. "This is too much. I'm done with all this chaos. We didn't come here for this. I came here to focus on my family and my future, not to be dragged into this mess." Yandi, who had always supported Mency through thick and thin, couldn't help but agree. "I hear you, babe, but let's just make it through the finale, and then we'll figure things out." But even Yandi knew that the damage had already been done. Their time on the show had taken its toll. The final moments of shooting were filled with tension, and it became evident that the relationships formed on the show, including those with each other, might never be the same. As the cast prepared for what was meant to be a celebratory final day, the atmosphere on set was far from joyful. The producers, who had worked relentlessly to keep the drama alive throughout the season, were now faced with a challenge far bigger than they anticipated: how to manage a situation that had escalated well beyond their control. "We've never seen anything like this," one producer murmured to another, her voice filled with concern. "This is no longer just about reality TV. This is real-life fallout, and we can't predict how it will unfold." The uncertainty hung heavily in the air. What was once a carefully controlled set had now become a pressure cooker, with every interaction steeped in tension. The crew, accustomed to the usual ebb and flow of reality show drama, now found themselves walking on eggshells. No one knew whether the final day of filming would result in a dramatic conclusion or if it would ignite even more conflict. Young Jock, known for his humor and ability to smooth over situations, tried to lighten the mood, but even his signature wit couldn't pierce the growing tension. "Man, this is getting out of hand," he said to a fellow cast member while preparing for the final shoot. "I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope we make it through this without another fight. My heart can't take much more of this." His attempt to ease the atmosphere only underscored the deep divide that had formed within the group. As the cameras rolled for the final scene, the cast gathered, and the producers anxiously awaited a smooth conclusion. However, what came next was far from expected. Kirk, who had been unusually quiet throughout the day, suddenly exploded. "I'm done pretending," he shouted, his voice booming across the set. "This is all a game, and I'm not playing anymore." His words, full of anger, carried an undeniable weight of pain. Kirk had spent years dealing with the pressures of fame, but it was clear that the weight had finally broken him. Rashida, shaken by his outburst, attempted to intervene. "This isn't the time for this," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "Please don't do this now. Let's just finish this and go home." But Kirk was resolute. "I've had enough," he he snapped, turning to face the crew. "You want drama? I'll give you drama, but don't expect me to be anyone's puppet anymore." The room fell into silence. The tension was palpable, thick enough to slice through. The cameras captured every moment, but they missed the vulnerability in Kirk's eyes. The man who had once been so confident now seemed like a shadow of his former self, overwhelmed by the pressure of the show, his conflicts with Men C, and the unraveling of his marriage. Men C, who had been watching the scene unfold from the sidelines, stepped forward. "Kirk, I get it," he said in a surprisingly calm tone. "But this isn't the way to handle it. We're all going through our own stuff. You don't have to do this alone." But Kirk, in his final act of defiance, refused to relent. "I'm done with all of you," he spat before storming off set. "I don't need this show, and I don't need any of you." With that, the final day of filming ended in chaos. The producers quickly cut the cameras, unsure of how to fix the situation. The cast, once united by shared experiences, was now deeply divided, and the future of love and hip-hop seemed more uncertain than ever. As the cast members left the set, their faces reflected a mix of anger, sadness, and exhaustion. The show that had propelled them to fame now felt like a distant memory, and the relationships built around it were left in tatters. No one knew what lay ahead, but one thing was clear: the love and hip-hop cast would never be the same. And so, the most tumultuous day of filming ended with unanswered questions. The future of the show and the personal fates of Kirk, Rashida, Men C, and the rest of the crew remained uncertain. So, what do you think about the final day of filming? Was Kirk right to walk off set, or should he have handled things differently? Do you think Men C and Yandi can survive the chaos, or is their relationship beyond repair? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like button if you believe this was one of the most intense episodes in Love and Hip Hop history. Stay tuned for more updates as we bring you all the latest gossip and behind-the-scenes drama, because there's more to come that you won't want to miss.